Yes, good morning, students. Today we will start with a new chapter, that is diversity in living organisms. So we will start this chapter with various pictures and activities. So you have to pay attention in this lesson, right? So let's move ahead and see some pictures. So yes, there are some pictures in front of you and you have to tell me like what you can observe in these pictures. Anything particular that you can observe? Yes, you have to share your observations below in the comment box. Then okay, so yes, what all things can you observe in these pictures? Yes, okay. I can see that some of you are writing these are microorganisms. Yes, these are the microscopic organisms. Some may be bacteria, some may be viruses. Yes, very good. Maybe protozoans, fungi, and this is paramecium. Yes, you all are right. You all named these organisms rightly. So these are all the microscopic organisms, right? Do you find any differences between them? Yes. Okay. So what are the differences that you can see? Like their shape is different. Yes. Their color is different. Yes. Very good. And what else? And they come under different categories also. Yes. Very good. So yes, you identified it correctly. Now we will move forward and see some more details. Okay. So now there are again pictures in front of you and you have to again identify and find the differences between these organisms. Okay, so these are the photos of some animals, different animals, and yes, first one is yes, the first one is elephant. Very good. Second one is a blue whale. Okay, yes, very good. And third picture is of a bird. Yes, and the fourth picture is of an insect. So, what is the difference between all those? All these organisms? Yes, their shape is different, their sizes are different, right? And some live in land, some live in water, some live in like some they fly in airs, some have wings, some have big ears, right? As these elephants, they have big ears, right? And they have fins, they some have wings. So these are the different features of different organisms. So we can see that there is diversity, right? So much of diversity in organisms, not only microscopic organisms, but in animals and plants also there is so much diversity. So now we will see some more detail. So what are we going to study now? Yes, diversity in living organisms, right? So now I will explain what does it means. Like in this this bewildering variety of life around us has evolved on earth over millions of years, right? Millions of years have taken for this diversity to happen. However, we do not have more than a tiny fraction of this time to try and understand all these living organisms. So we cannot look at them one by one. So what we do is we, instead of looking them one by one, we categorize them based on different categories or different features, characteristics. We categorize them into different classes or different groups, right? So this is the reason why we classify them. So yes, we will move on ahead. And so now my question is, you have to name some of the organisms that you see around you, and then you have to tell the difference, like what first the diversity of living organism that is living around you, and then you have to explain that what features they are having that makes them different from one another. Okay, so what organisms can you see? You can write in the chat box. Yes, we can see cows. Yes, they have four legs, a tail, and they give milk, right? Yes, we get milk from them. They eat grass. Okay. What about other animals? Yes, we see dogs. Dogs, they don't usually eat grass, but they eat meats and they bark. So every animal is having different sounds, different features. Then there are cats, and their sizes and shapes are also different, right? So yes, so this was all about the diversity in different organisms that are living around you. So now we will solve a question. So coming on to the question part, let's see the question. So now in these two questions, first you have to choose the odd one out, right? So first is bacteria, fungi, viruses, protozoan, and cow. So in these you have to find out the odd one out. I will give you 5 seconds and then we will move on to the second question. Okay, I can see the right responses. Yes, you all answered it correctly. It is cow. because all these organisms are microscopic organisms, whereas this cow is not a microscopic organism. We can see it with the naked eyes also. So yes, moving on to the second question. Whale, giraffe, ant, and elephant. So what do you think is the odd one out here? And you have to also give the reason. Yes, I can see the right responses. The correct response is ant. And why is it ant? Yes, because all of these animals are bigger animals and ant is a very small animal. So this is the diversity in the different organisms that we see around us, right? So now we will move on ahead and see some more activities, right? Okay, let's move on ahead. Coming to the next slide. Okay, so there are two pictures in front of you. There are two animals, and in these animals, what you have to do is you have to identify that are there any differences. First, we will find out the similarities. So is there any similarity between these organisms? Yes, any similarities? Okay, yes, they have 4 legs. Yes, even cow and tigers, they both have 4 legs. Any other similarity? It's hard to find. They both have a tail, right? So this is also one of the similarity. So now we will talk about the differences. What are the differences both of them are having? Like cow is a vegetarian animal, right? Whereas herbivore animal we can say, and whereas the tiger is which kind of organism? It is carnivore, right? It is herbivore and it is carnivore. What else can you see? Yes, any difference in the in the structure also? The cow is big in structure, right? But lion or this tiger is smaller in structure. And also we can see the different colors, like cow is in black and white color and the tiger has stripes in them. So these are the different similarities and differences between the different organisms. So now from this you must have gotten an idea like how what we are going to study now. Let's move on and see. What we are going to study is what is the basis of classification. That is, we will see some characteristics. Like every organism is possessing different characteristics. So let's move on ahead and we will see some more details. Okay. So yes, moving on to our next slide. Let's see. So let's see, there was a scientist named as Aristotle. What he did is he classified plants and animals in different categories. And let's see those categories, right? So what are the characteristics he classified? So plants were classified into, yes, herbs, shrubs, and trees. So these three were the classification by Aristotle of plants. And what and how did he classify animals? On which basis? Like where they live, land, air, and water. So this was the classification done by Aristotle. Aristotle, right? So now we will move on ahead and we will move on to our next slide. Okay. So yes, in our next slide, what we can see is we can see two different organisms, right? And both of these have different characteristics. So characteristics is a particular feature of a particular function, right? That most of us have. Like we are having 5 fingers on each hand. Thus a characteristics. This is a characteristics, right? But like these fingers, we humans have these fingers, but plants are not having these fingers, right? So these are the different characteristics every organism possesses. So based on this picture, what are the characteristics of human and plants? Different characteristics that you can identify. Like this, if this is a plant and this is a human, yes, human can run from one place to another. They can move, right? They have hands, they have legs, right? What about plants? They cannot move. They are fixed by the roots, right? Roots are there. And they have leaves also. This also makes them different from us. So these are certain characteristics that make the two organisms different from each other. So this was all about characteristics. Now coming on to our question. Let's see a question and then we will move on to our third topic. So there is a question like what you have to do is you have to give two differences of plants and animals on the basis of their characteristics. Like what you find different in plants and animals. Okay, you can write in the comment box below. I will give you 5 seconds and then we will discuss the answer. Okay, yes, I can see the right responses. Yes. So plants, first we will write plants. Plants, they cannot move, right? They cannot move. And what else? Plants have leaves, plants have roots. Yes, plants have stems. What about animals? Animals can move, right? And what else? What else characteristics are different? Yes, plant animals can move. They have skin, just like they have leaves, they have skin, and they drink water, eat food, different from the plants. So these are the different characteristics and different differences between plants and animals. So let's move ahead. So now there is a picture in front of you and you have to identify what this organism is. Okay. And what are the characteristics of this organism? So yes, you can write in the comment box. Yes, this is, what is this? Yes, this is a amoeba. Okay, what are the different characteristics of amoeba? Yes, it is unicellular, like single cell. Yes, and its body is not having any definite shape, right? So these are some of the characteristics of amoeba. Okay, so we saw one unicellular organism. So now we will see some multicellular organisms, and you have to identify what are the different characteristics these multicellular organisms having. Okay, so now these are some of the multicellular organisms. So what are the characteristics? Are they like amoeba? No, they are not like amoeba. Yes, very good. So what is different? They have a particular shape. Yes, they have a particular structure. Yes, they can perform different functions than amoeba, and they are multicellular. So yes, you all mentioned it correctly. So these are some of the differences between the different organisms, right? So now we will be studying, what we will be studying is, we will be studying the cell. And why we are studying cell in this? Because cell is also like a characteristics. It also comes under a characteristics which defines the organism and differentiates between them, right? So yes, coming to our third picture, let's see what we can see more in pictures. Okay, so yes, there are two types of cells in front of you. First is prokaryotic cell and second is eukaryotic cell. So now, yes, what are the difference between the two cells that you can see? Okay, is there any difference you can see? Like here, the prokaryotic cell is having a flagella, but I cannot see a flagella here, right? And what else? Yes, lysosome is present in eukaryotes, whereas in prokaryotes it is not present. What else is present? Okay, so different cell organelles are there in eukaryotic cells and in prokaryotic cells. And prokaryotic cells are usually unicellular, and whereas eukaryotic cells are usually multicellular. So these are the main differences between them, right? Okay, so are you all clear with the concept? If you are clear, then we will move on ahead. If not, then please inform me and we will clear your doubt. Okay, so I think there is no doubt, so we will move on ahead. So yes, this is a cell and you have to identify the different organelles present in the cell. Okay, the center, what is this part known as? Okay, so this is the nucleus. Yes, very good. You can write in the chat box. Okay, so what is this part known as? Yes, it is the mitochondria. What about this? Yes, it is the Golgi bodies. What about this? It is the endoplasmic reticulum. Okay, so yes, these are the different parts of the cell. Okay, so now I think you are clear with the concept of cell. So now we will move on ahead and see a question. Now coming to the true or false. So first question is, paramecium is unicellular. Is it true or false? So you have to write your answers. Okay, you have to write your answer in the chat box. Okay, I can see the right responses. Yes, very good. Paramecium is unicellular. It is true. Coming to the second question, eukaryotic cells can do multiple functions. True or false? Okay, I can see the right responses. It is also true statement. It can do. So now we will move on ahead and come to the recapitulation part of whatever we studied today. So we studied about different diversities and different organisms and how they are characterized based on the different characteristics they possess, right? First question is, in recapitulation, what you have to do is define diversity in living organisms. Okay, you can write your answers in the chat box. Yes, some organisms are big, some organisms are small, some have different structures, some have different eating habits. Yes, very good. And why do we need to classify the organisms? Like, why there is a need? Yes, so that we can easily identify the organism. Okay, yes, very good. So now coming to the third point, what are the basis of classification? Okay, yes, the basis of classification is characteristics and the cell it possesses. Yes, very good. And what are the characteristics? Okay, yes, these are the individual trait that a person or animal or any organism is possessing. Okay, and what is a cell according to you? It is the smallest unit of life. Okay, so yes, you all recapitulated it very well. Okay, so now we will move on to our homework part. So let's see the homework. In homework, what you have to do is there are some questions. You have to solve these questions and then your homework will be finished. Only 2 questions are there, right? Okay, so now if you have any doubt, you can ask in the chat box. We will clear it. And if no, then we will end our class here. Okay. Yes. So I think there is no doubt. So yes. So yes, students, now we will end our class here and meet in our next class with some more interesting topics, right? Okay, so thank you and bye. We will meet in next class.